Let's talk about the writing process. The writing process is recursive and overlapping. What does recursive mean? It means that you are going to return to previous stages at any given point. So you might start off with pre-writing and you move straight on to writing, but then if you're like me, you're going to find your way back to over to revision before you've finished writing the first draft, before you've even finished the pre-writing. And you could basically be going back and forth, back and forth. I'll find myself tinkering with sentences and ideas before I've even completed a paragraph. So for me, this process doesn't really go like this. It goes all over the place. So I don't know if that's true for you or not, but it's definitely true for me. Overlapping means that you're rarely working on just one of these stages at a time. It means they're usually combined in some way. So the important part is that you've put a lot of thinking into this process and that when you're finished, you've got a final product. Pre-writing or pre-drafting, this differs from person to person, and I'm not really going to prescribe one certain way of doing it. I think that it's a pretty personal process. Some things work for some people, some things don't work for other people. For me, I will generally start out making like fast lists of things and getting some ideas. But usually, the most important thing for me in writing is giving myself plenty of time to think. So I might know what I'm going to write about, but I'm not really sure what I'm going to say about it. So I just think about it. And sometimes I'm not thinking about it consciously. Like I'll be doing a task, something that's not related to writing at all, and an idea will pop into my head. And sometimes it'll be the opening line of something, or the first paragraph, or sometimes it's even the end of something. And but it gives me an idea, and the important thing for me to do right at that point is write it down. So I don't know. I mean, this is just a process that differs for everybody. So you could think, analyze, question, asking yourself like 5 questions, like journalists do, like who, what, when, where, why. You can read for inspiration. You can brainstorm, basically making lists or making like those cluster kind of circle things that are connected, like you might have been taught in school. Outline and using a graphic organizer is useful. This is kind of pretty much when you've gotten past the I know what I'm going to write about and you're starting to lay out your ideas. Talking to others can be an excellent way to pre-write, just getting ideas, bouncing things off other people. Journaling, taking notes, all of these things are great ways to get into a topic. When you write, in other words, you're doing your first draft, this means you're actively writing either by hand or on a computer, and this process is not necessarily linear. It might, again, go back to the beginning. You could start, go back to pre-writing. You can go look something else up. You can read something else to give you some inspiration if you're starting to lose the chain of what you're trying to do. It's just a really involved process that takes time. That's the important thing. It takes time. And if you're having problems starting your essay, I would suggest to you that there is no reason on earth why you should always feel like you have to start at the beginning of a piece of writing. Yes, that's how someone reads it, but that doesn't mean that you need to write it that way. You can start with writing the end. You can write the middle. You can start with anything you want and then just reorganize it later. So don't allow yourself to get stumped at the very beginning of a writing project by not knowing how to begin. Don't start at the beginning. One important step in my process, and I hope it will become a part of your process, is letting that draft cool off for a few days. It means that you put it away and you don't look at it for 1 or 2 days, and then you come back and you look at it again. Read it again. You're going to see it with fresh eyes. And it's really important that you allow yourself enough time to start your writing project so that you do have time to let it cool off. Anything's going to look okay or passable right after you write it. Like if you put something off till 10 p.m. the night before it's due, or God forbid, 10:30 when it's due at 11 p.m., well, yeah, I mean, you're pretty much stuck with what you wrote. But if you give yourself enough time, enough lead time, you can rework it. So do let it cool off. Another important part of your process is getting feedback. Have other people read it and comment on the strengths and weaknesses. And don't allow other people to read for punctuation, grammar, spelling, and so on the first go through. Force them to comment on the ideas, the support, the order that you've placed things in, the organization. Is your main idea clear? Is it convincing? Is it funny? Is it whatever you want it to be? Ask other people, did I accomplish what I was trying to do? That's important. And thank them at the end for their feedback. Better that they should be honest with you and tell you what it needs rather than they just tell you, oh, it's great. Yeah, that's not really going to help you. Then the next step is revision, and this is really, really crucial. You need to rethink what you're saying. You need to add to it. You need to delete some things. Maybe you got off the point in some ways. You need to refine it. Is that idea really clear? Have you really nailed down what you meant to say? Support. You can't just make statements without supporting them. Please provide support. Develop those ideas. Do you need more examples? Do you need, what do you think the reader is going to need to understand what point it is you're trying to make? So always, always, always read. Think of your reader. Think of your reader and what is your reader understanding from what you're saying. And then reorganize your ideas. Reorganize them to emphasize the most important ideas. Reorganize your ideas to make that sequence of thinking clear for your reader. Do whatever you have to do. Do not skip the revision phase. If you're a person who leaves things off to the last minute so that you never have time to revise, you are hurting yourself. You are cheating yourself out of doing as well as you could. You're never going to be able to do as well as you could on a first draft. So just make sure you are doing revising. Editing, I think of editing number one is rethinking how you say it. And this isn't so much on correctness, it's on tinkering with your sentences to make ideas really, really clear. So check your grammar to focus on the meaning. Grammar isn't all about correctness, what's right and what's wrong. It's also really about making your ideas more clear to your reader. Grammar can make or break a sentence in terms of getting the idea across. Cut your sentences down to eliminate wordiness. Do you really need to say it in that many words? Probably not. Fewer words, more concise words are stronger. Change your vocabulary to more exactly express your meaning. Find the word. Don't be lazy. Go get a dictionary. Look up the exact word that really expresses what you mean to say. Combine ideas. If ideas are parallel or they go together, combine them. If ideas don't belong together, but you've just placed them together on the first draft, break them up. Emphasize what you need to do. And then make the sentence structure clarify your meaning rather than obscure it. Nobody should have to wade through wordy sentences trying to figure out what the main idea is. That's your job. It's your job to make your writing as clear as possible for your reader. Editing number two is proofreading. Now this is where we start to focus on correctness, not meaning. Read that essay out loud to yourself slowly. You're going to catch all sorts of things that you would not notice if you just read it with your eyes. Check for grammar. Focus on correctness. Check for your punctuation. Is it correct? Is it the best choice? Does the punctuation work to emphasize the idea you're trying to emphasize? Is there another choice that would be better? Check for your spelling, and don't trust your computer spell checker. Computers are smart, but they're really stupid when it comes to spelling. So don't trust it. Check for typos. They're just those little inadvertent misspellings or extra periods or whatever it is that you were in a hurry and you didn't see it. Check specifically for errors you know you make often. You make run-ons, you make fragments, you get they, the three theirs confused, whatever. Check for that stuff. Check for the word it. That little word it is usually not necessary. So work to revise your sentences to get that little word it out of there. Also check for pronoun clarity. Make sure that every pronoun has a clear reference. Check for format. That's line spacing, title, MLA format, in-text citations, and so on. And then proofread that thing one last time, and 2 more times doesn't hurt. And finally, one of the most important steps in the writing process is celebrate. You've really worked hard. Writing textbooks never talk about rewarding yourself when you've done all this hard work. I think it's important. I mean, writing should be something that's enjoyable for you in some way. And if the only pleasure you're going to get out of it is at the end of it, then make sure you celebrate. Reward yourself.